Happy Monday night. Happy Monday night. Welcome back to Apologetically Keith. And it is good to be back. Yes, I missed Friday. Let me turn this down here. I was not here Friday, as many of you know, the passing of my mother. Shout out to my moms. Rest in peace, mommy. And so you guys that were watching Thursday, you got to listen in to the actual call. So you can never say that these shows are pre-recorded or that it's not real. So Thursday night, you guys that were here listening got a chance to listen to the actual call when I got that bad news. But we're taking care of everything and getting all the arrangements in place. And so it is what it is. And so now it is time to get back to work. It is time to do the things that I do. And so I'm still showing up. I'm still here. And yes, I am good. Because that seems to always be the question that you get. Everybody says, are you okay? Well, the answer is no. You're never okay. And you learn to heal. You learn to go through it. And so for me, it was something that I kind of was prepared for because my mother's health was okay and for the most part, but things that she was dealing with. But, you know, no one's ever prepared for somebody to go. And so at the end of the day, God rendered a decision. And that's what I've been telling folks. The Lord rendered a decision, and now we have to live with it. But now, on a lighter note, it is great to be back. Let me tell you what's actually crazy. If you be careful whenever you're going to do a live show, that if you're drinking water or anything, I spilled it on my shirt. And I was like, hey, I'm getting ready to jump on, and I got this water on my shirt. So I was like, but it's okay because I don't sit too far back from the camera. But tonight is Monday. Hey, Queenie, how are you? Tonight is Monday night, and let me just give you get a little housekeeping out of the way. I am Keith K.L. Belvin, crisis specialist, and I am happy to be before you. This is Unapologetically Keith, which comes on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9:30 to 10 o'clock, where we talk about relationship issues, crisis situations, a little bit of everything in a way to try to uplift you as well as to try to give you some positive information. Also, we are streaming on 3 different platforms: Facebook Live, YouTube Live, and Periscope. And you guys that are watching on Periscope, make sure that you tap that screen so you can get some hearts. And even if you're watching in a replay, make sure that you tap that screen. Now, the most important thing is, because I'm streaming on 3 different platforms, I cannot see who is watching me. So if you want me to know that you're there, well, just like my friend Queenie popped in here to say good evening, that's what you have to do. Just pop in, say hi, wave, put some emoji up, whatever, and I will address you and let you know that I've seen you. And that's how, as well as I would love for you to respond and get into the conversation as we get into the topic tonight. And speaking of the topic, we are going to finish up what we started last week, which are the 12 communication issues which affect your relationship. And this is part 3, and this is the final part. There was only 3 parts. And if we have time, depending on what time it is, I'll probably go over the other 8, but we're going to knock down the last 4 tonight. And so I want to make sure that we finish up. Hey, there's my lovely wife. Hey, darling, how are you? My wife and daughter, who should be in bed right now, but great to have you. And again, remember, guys, the only way that I can see you is if you show up in the chat room and we're good. Okay. So with that said, we're going to get into what's going on. And so the 12 communication issues which affect your relationship, part 3. So number 9 on that list, let me bring that up for you. Number 9. Okay. Showing disinterest in their ideas. Now, when you have a partner who's showing no interest in the ideas that you have, that is a clear warning sign. If you can't find a way to communicate support for your loved one and their ideas, your relationship can fizzle. Exactly. And what we have to realize is that even if you're not digging it, you should be digging it because your partner is digging it. You should be your partner's biggest cheerleader. And the minute that you start distancing yourself from what they like and the things that they enjoy doing, your relationship is taking a hit. And after enough hits, there's really no incentive to remain together because a person wants to know that they matter. And one of the ways that you show a person that they matter is by taking a vested interest. And when I say vested, not just yeah, that's good, honey, just yeah, do that, do that. No, how can I help you? Now I ain't never walked the pageant. Well, I have walked the pageant stage. No. But my wife, as a former pageant queen, national winner, I took an interest in that because it was something that she wanted to do. And I watched her put in the work and I watched her grind. So when she won, we won. Well, I really didn't do too much. I got to hang out in the audience, but I still was there to support. And I think that's what it has to be about. You can't allow someone else to be more excited about your significant other's ideas and actions more than anybody else. Queenie, Tiff, y'all agree? What do y'all think? Give me a one in the chat room if y'all agree, if that makes sense. So, I mean, anybody else that's watching, again, remember, this is Keith KL Belvin. We're unapologetically Keith. Remember I cannot see you, so remember to chime in. Let me know that you're there. So if you're ready for number 10, put a 10 in the chat room and we'll get ready to move on. Let me see what I got listed here. Did they just pop on and leave? So we're going to move on to number 10. All right. Oh, well, listen. T to the Y. What's going on? T to the Y, and you must add the Jones to it. Oh, there we go. Now they're popping, and there's the ones. Tiffany understands, and Queenie understands. And we got Ty in the house, T to the Y. And if you go to his Instagram page, you'll understand why you always hear me say T to the Y, and you must add the Jones to it. Ty gives a lot of great information on his page, lets you into his life as he chronologizes that on Instagram. Also does a lot of great cooking on the weekend, so you definitely got to check Ty out on Instagram. Okay, so we got the 10s up. We're going to move on to the next one. Number 10 is, now this one, as simple as it is a problem. Simply not listening. You should listen to your partner even when they annoy you. Now, my lovely wife is in the chat room. She can tell you that even when she gets on my nerves, they'll listen. I act like I'm not, but I'm really listening. And she does the same for me. I may get on her nerves, but she's listening. And the funny thing is, even when we're getting on each other's nerves, you may still hear, "You hungry? Do you want something to eat?" And we'll figure it out afterwards. But we don't allow things to fester. But number 10, very, very, very important. Simply not listening. So now I'm going to ask you guys. Listen, I got Queenie here, I got Tiff here, and I got Ty here. How many of you really just zone out and just don't bother listening to your partner? Tell the truth. I think we all do, but I want to hear what you guys think. Do you guys do that? Just you know what, I'm not listening. I know Tiff does, so I'll answer for her, but I'll ask anyway. Do you guys just, there's the smiley faces, because Tiff will just straight be like, I ain't listening to him. And I know because she'll act like she's watching television, but she's really just trying to act like she ain't trying to hear nothing I say. So really, to Queenie and to Ty, what about you guys? Do you just simply just zone out? Yes, please listen. And it's very important. Let me tell you something. Listening is a form of respect, guys. And listening is because you're caring what's coming out of your partner's mouth. You're caring about what they're saying. And active listening is where you go, okay, yeah, repeat what they say. So they did whatever at work. Ty said, oh my, yes, not proud of it. I appreciate your honesty. But it's very important. And when I mean active listening is with your eyes, looking right at them, repeating what they say. So you put the paper down at work and they took it off your desk. That lets a person know, and you're engaging. Active listening is returning some. So what else happened? And by engaging and not just placating somebody, you're showing a level of respect. And that's necessary. That lets a person know that you care. Now, listen, they may be telling you the same story. Oh, Flex is in the building. What's up, Flex? Oh, I'm Flex. I still got to check, buddy. I'm sorry. I didn't check on you. I got to check on that for the book for you. Because if I got it wrong, I'll send you a free one. If I didn't, I'll send you word to let you know on the order. So I apologize about that, Flex. I didn't get to it, but with everything that was going on with my mom's, blame it to my heart, blame it to my head, not my heart. So we have Flex in the building. Okay. I listen Let me see what Queenie said. Queenie said, I listen, may not do what he says. So Queenie said, I listen, but I may not do what he say. Now that's classic. I like that. Thank you for your honesty, Queenie. I appreciate that. And that's true too. Tiff is like that too. Tiff will listen, but she may not do what I tell her to do. And I'm like, but it is what it is. Okay. So now let me just catch a couple people up because we got Flex that just popped in and we got T to the Y and Jones popped in. So number 9 was showing disinterest in your partner's ideas or them showing disinterest in your ideas. And we just finished number 10, simply not listening. And that is number 9 and number 10 of the 12 communication issues which can affect your relationship, which affects your relationship. That's where we are. We're finishing up the list from last week. So we are at number 10. So if you guys are ready for number 11, put a 1 in the chat room and we will go on to number 11. And if I have enough time, I will go over all 12 for you. If you were not here for all 12, I will if we have time at the end, as well as I answer any questions that you may have if we have time. So if you are ready for number 11, let me get a 1 in the chat room. Let me see. Let me get a 1 in the chat room. What we got going on here? Let me see who's ready to move on. It says we got Flex in the house, we got Queenie, we got Ty, and we have my lovely wife in the house. Let's see. Where are those number ones? Give me number ones if you're ready to move on to number 11. Oh, here go the number ones. There we go. Thank you. Appreciate it. Love to know that you guys are involved with me here. Let's find number 11. And number 11 is, here we go, bringing up issues at the wrong time. Now, I'm not just talking about you're watching the game or you're involved in something. Now they want to talk. Just, it's the wrong time. Like you might be going through a little something. You might have just had a bad day at work. You might have just had a situation with your child, whatever it is. But bringing up the issues at the wrong time. Now, as you see I have here, you have to know when and where to talk about your issues. Now, if you're really paying attention to your significant other, and I mean really, you know when they're not in the best of moods. And trust me, and Flex, you feel what I'm saying is that you got to know when it's the right time. And Ty, I've watched a lot of your videos, so I know you understand this too. Queenie and Tiff, same thing, is there's a good and a bad time to have conversation. I have to, and I'm not gonna lie, I gotta be fully transparent, that there's times that I really want to talk about something and Tiff will be like, I don't want to talk about it. And I'll push because I really want to talk about it. But I'm learning. I'm not perfect. I'm learning that I have to allow Tiff to get to a place where she's good for us to really have a really engaging conversation. Now, I have to admit, there are times that I have to kind of stay at her and nudge her because I want to be able to get to what's wrong at that moment, because in the past, it has helped us. But I've also seen it cause more of an edge. So it's a very tricky one. You got to be careful, but please know the right time. This is where you got to know your partner. Anybody, give me some. What do y'all guys say? What do you guys think? Hey, Sister Smith is in the house. Hey, Sister Smith, welcome. We are finishing up the 12 communication issues which affect your relationship. We did number 9, showing disinterest in your ideas. Number 10, simply not listening. And we just started discussing number 11, bringing up issues at the wrong time. Anybody else have that problem before I move on to number 12? Anybody else have that problem where either their partner brings stuff up at the wrong time, or they or you have brought things up at the wrong time, and you knew it was the wrong time, but you just really wanted what you wanted? I mean, let's be transparent with it. Let's really have a conversation. So Queenie says we are retired, so all the time is the right time. But I feel you, Queenie, but not necessarily, because that may not be the case. Hey, Tiffany Green, the hardest working woman in the game. Hey, Tiff, welcome. Thank you for showing up. We're discussing the 12 communication issues which can affect your relationship. So T to the Y said, I finally learned that with my current girlfriend, I was bad with it with my ex. It's a learning experience. Thank you for the honesty, Ty. I appreciate that. And let me tell you something, that's very, very important. I'm gonna get back to Queenie's point too. It's very important that you grow from each relationship. You should not be the same person that you was in your last relationship. Everybody can't see you, Tiff. I can see the chat. I don't know if everybody can see you unless it's on Facebook. Actually, you're on Facebook, so everybody can probably see you. So Tiffany A. Green says hello to everyone. If you guys are on Facebook, you can see her. If you're on Periscope, you're not going to be able to see the chat on those that post on Periscope. And if you're on YouTube, you're only going to see the people that post on YouTube. But Tiff said hello to everyone. But back to what Queenie was saying, that's Bernice when you see me call her Queenie, is she said they're retired, so all the time is the right time. Well, I have to push back just a little, because even though you guys are retired, it's not the right time if he's not in the mood, and it's not the right time if you're not in the mood, and you risk it turning into something negative because you're both not ready to have a conversation about whatever might be wrong. Now, the fact that you guys are retired means you do spend a lot of time with each other. So yes, you have a lot more time. So I do agree. But you always have to know when is a good and bad time. And this is where you really got to learn your partner. You really got to understand who your other is, because you want to, when you have an issue, you want to be able to get to the heart of the issue and not create a new issue. And now you got a plethora of issues and no solution. And the relationship is taking a hit all the way around. So again, that's something that you actually don't want. And that's where communications, again, while we're talking about communication, this is why communication is so very important. You have to learn each other's love language. You have to learn each other's pain language. You have to learn each other's healing language. And all of that is encompassed into the love language. Tiffany says, sometimes I need to wait until emotions are not too high to communicate effectively. That is true. I am learning that about my wife. She doesn't communicate the way that I do. She needs some time to figure out and do whatever, because when she's emotional, Lord, is she emotional? Well, y'all haven't seen my wife emotional. I have. Anyway, so Sister Smith says, I and my husband just got back together after 2 years separation. Today I almost started something, but I had to get back. Hold on a second. Let me make sure. There we go. Let me read this again, because I had a little flash on my screen there. Sister Smith says, I and my husband just got back together from a 2-year separation. Today I almost started something, but I had to be quiet. I had a problem attacking him in the past. And that's great. And that's what I mean about learning how to learn from your situation. So instead of learning from an old relationship to a new one, you learned from your previous time together and brought it into the new situation that you're in. That's beautiful. Tiffany A. Green says, man, you're right. Got some thumbs up from the wife there. And Queenie says, we are married for 55 years, so we just say, let's talk. Yes. Let me tell you something. I know Queenie and her husband, fierce competitors on the bowling alley, by the way. Let me tell you something. We've had some fights. We've had some wars with them. Tiff and I have had to go hard against Queenie and her husband on the bowling alley. They're very good competitors and fantastic people and great spirits. But can I get a bunch of thumbs up for what I just read? I'm going to put that on the screen for y'all too. This right here is the quote of the night. We are married 55 years. Talking about relationship goals. There it is right there. 55 years. That's more than half of a century. I'll sign on for that right now. Tiff and I got about 35 more years to go. We coming up on 20 years together. So we got 35 more years to catch up to Queen and her husband. Wow, 55 years. Shout out to Queen. So I'm going to show some of the responses. So we got Sister Smith said, replying, 55 years. This is awesome. We got thumbs up from Tiff. This is what I'm talking about. 55 years is definitely relationship goals. But there's always something you can learn even after 55 years. And there's things that you have to deal with after 55 years. So there's definitely something there. Flex gives some thumbs up for the 55 years. Let me tell you something. 55 years. Woo-wee. Queenie, I tip my hat to you. So real quick recap, guys. Real quick recap before we go on to the last one. We have 1 year. Oh, there you go, Tiff. Tiff said we got 1 year. Let me put that up there too. Let me give you some shine. Tiff said we got 1 year. You got 54 more to go. But from what I see, Tiff, you and your wonderful husband are on your way. Y'all seem to have a great rapport, and that's a beautiful thing. To all of you guys that are in relationships, remember this, guys. Mine was 55 minutes. Flex said his was 55 minutes. Wow, Flex, didn't even make an hour, huh? Wow. But the series, Flex just threw me off with the 55 minutes. That got me right there. I cannot lie. But let me just put this back up again, number 11, because I think it's very important when we talk about the wrong time. To see, timing can be everything. And I think the beautiful thing about when we look at Queenie being together 55 years, Tiff said 1 year, Tiff and I have been 20. There's still, you still will miss the mark sometimes. Y'all don't see when we get mad. That's true. Listen, you know how social media is. You're never going to see everything that goes on in social media. But you see this wonderful dude right here. This dude had to learn this young lady right here. So I always tell people, this peace of mind that you see is because I had to keep thinking about it. I had to learn how to be that to her. And then sometimes I miss the mark, and then sometimes I mess up. But I think the beautiful thing about our relationship is we don't want, thank you, Tiff, I appreciate that. Tiff said it's a great topic. We don't want the relationship to turn into something negative. Oh, Sister Smith chimed in with 26 years. That's what I'm talking about. We got some folks here. And that's the thing, is when you have that time, hopefully, and you don't get that way without having something solid. And I think the beautiful thing about everybody that's chiming in, even with Flex with his 55 minutes, there's still always something to learn or to relearn. So we just heard from Sister Smith saying she's back at it after a 2-year separation. That's beautiful. They figured that, let's try it again. Okay, that's beautiful. Queenie said 55. Tiffany said 1 year. Flex said 55 minutes. Either way, there's something to be learned at every stage, at every step, because we're not the same person every day. And we're a little bit different each day. Hopefully we're a little bit better. And if we're a little bit better, then we can work on pumping that into the relationship. So let's move on to the last one of the list, and I will definitely go back over all 12, and I'll definitely stay on and have a conversation with anybody if they need it. So if you're ready for number 12, give me a thumbs up. I see you, Flex. Give me a thumbs up or a number 1, whichever one works for you. And remember, if you're watching on Periscope, make sure you tap that screen and hit the hearts. That lets me know that you're digging what I'm talking about. And remember, guys, we should like this and share this. But if you share it, don't just share it blindly. Share it and say, you need to check this out when he's talking about relationships, or say, you need to check Keith out, because people in your circle need to know who I am, and I'll gladly take care of them. And I'll give you all my information, how to reach me and everything when we get to the end. Okay, so we got 1 thumbs up on number 12. Give me another thumbs up or 1 if you want to move on to that last one. Okay, I know I got everybody into, you know what, I'm not going to wait. There we go. Queenie gave it number 1. Miss Smith, Tiffany, up there we go. Appreciate you guys. Okay, so let's put this up here. Let me bring up the last one, and then I will definitely go back over 1 through 12 for anybody who was not here with us the other days. Okay, number 12, and again, I didn't put these in any particular order, but number 12, the last one here. Appreciate all the number 1s, guys. I see you, and thank you for the thumbs up. Number 1, not accepting repair attempts. Now, let me explain to you why I put this one as the last one. And we got Natasha here, Natasha Mack. Shout out for coming in. Thank you for joining us. We're going over the 12 communication issues which affect your relationship. Appreciate having you on tonight on Unapologetically Keith, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9:30 to 10 o'clock. This one here, I made the last one for a reason. Not accepting repair attempts. They don't try to give or accept repair attempts. Now, let me tell you why I put this one on. As a crisis specialist, I'm guilty of that too. I got you. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna get into it. Thank you, Ty. I appreciate that honesty, because here's what's very important. As a crisis specialist who does personal and couples as well as children therapy and counseling, I have found that when wives or husbands say, "Can you speak to my wife?" Hey, shout out to Keisha coming in. Hey, Keish, good to have you. I have said to couples as well as I've said to singles, I don't have to say it. When I have a wife say, "Can you talk to my husband?" And I'll have a husband say, "I would love for you to talk to my wife." I don't have a problem speaking to anyone. The problem is they have to want to speak to me, because dragging somebody to counseling is not going to work. Sitting down with me because you force them to is not going to work. They have to want to fix the relationship, and then that's where I can do my biggest work, because I've seen it. And now, of course, through the COVID thing, I have to do it over the phone. is that, hey, Kira's here too. Good evening, Kira. Good to see you. Is that over the phone, I can see that he's sitting there like this. And I'm like, I can't help you like that. But if you really want help, you have to ask for it. So when they're not accepting repair attempts, when you say to your significant other, we should get counseling. I don't know, damn counseling. I ain't talking about my problems. I don't want no counseling. They need to be, I don't know, whatever it is. Or when you say we should read this book, I ain't reading no book. Ain't no book gonna fix my problems. Whatever. Any attempt that you make and they keep pushing back and they keep saying they don't want it, that's a problem. You are having a serious problem. Thank you, Natasha. I appreciate that. Because if they do not want to fix it, it's only going to get worse. And hey, here's the analogy I'll give you. If you know that your tire is flat or getting flat, you know you need air. But if you ignore it and go, I'm just going to keep driving, well, eventually, not only does the tire become flatter, you destroy the tire from the inside, and it's going to cost you more. Let me say that again. If you refuse to get help, or if you refuse the attempts at help, it is like driving on a tire that needs air. You can ignore it if you want. And the longer that you drive, the more damage to the tire that you do, until not only does it come ripping off the car, you now have placed yourself in a situation where everybody in the car can die. That is what happens to your relationship. So Sister Smith says, I heard I don't need it. You need it. If those are the ones who need it, if they say they don't, of course. Thank you, Tiff. I appreciate that. Anybody who says they don't need help are the ones that need help. It's the same as I can stop smoking anytime. I can stop doing drugs at any time. I'm not an addict. Yes, you are. Because if somebody is explaining to you that there's a problem, here's another thing too. It is a matter of respect. Thank you, Natasha. It is a matter of respect if your significant other says, we have a problem or you have a problem. I would simply say this, guys. When trying to present to your partner, if you talk about trying to get help, especially with reaching out to me if you want to set up a session with me. And I'm going to go a little past 10 o'clock tonight. I know I was going to get off at 10, but I'm going to stay on a little bit longer, guys, to have this conversation because I want to go over the other 9 for you, the other 8 for you. So I'm going to stay on a little longer than 10. I don't want to jump off now. And also, if for any reason when we're doing any shows, if it show ends and I was in the middle of talking, then you know it cut off, come back. I'll be back on. Now, with that said, here's the thing. It is a matter of respect for your partner, but here's how you present it to them. Honey, I think there's some things that we could do that could make our relationship better. Now, if they go, what do you mean? Well, I think there's some things that we can work on that would help us because I think we've been having some problems with, and you can present the problem, but you don't have to try to figure it out. That's what you come to me for. But by saying we, you take some of the weight off because some people, when you say, I think you have a problem, get defensive. And then they turn around and go, oh, I got a problem. You ain't say nothing. Da, da, da. Now, here we go. Now that goes back to number 11, bringing up the issue at the wrong time. If they're emotional or they're hurting, that's not the time maybe to go, hey, you need to go get some help. Or we need to go get some help. That might not be the time. So try to pick your spots on when things are pretty good. Say, baby, you know, how you feeling today? I'm all right. I'm all right. Can we talk for a second? Yeah, what's up? Baby, you know, the last couple of days, last couple of months, I think there's some things we need to do. Try to present it in a way that it makes it acceptable to hear. Because if you don't, and thank you guys. So Tiffany said, yep, Kira says so true. Appreciate you guys. Because if you don't give your partner, and Natasha said, preach, I appreciate you. If you don't give your partner a chance to feel like it's a us thing, then because they may know it's a problem too, but don't know how to fix it. And if they think it's affecting you, then all of a sudden they close up. And once they close up like a clam, now just like a clam, you got to try to force that open, put them in some hot water, whatever it is to get it open. Listen, it's a problem. And I am telling you, as a person that has sat with couples and sometimes just listening to them, I'm wondering at what point are they going to pull out the knives and just stab each other on Zoom? I don't like you either. So I'm just telling you, I've seen it. And so the reason why I put this one up, number 12, is not accepting your repair attempts, is because you still have to try to fix it. You would not ride in a car that you know something is wrong and say nothing. Keep that car analogy at the forefront of your thoughts. If you knew the engine, there was something wrong with it. You're not going to sit on the road and act like you didn't hear that. You don't hear that knocking? Nah, we good. You better pull this damn car over. And again, think of what I just told you about the flat tire. The flat tire actually starts to let you know because you can hear it. So you can try to ignore it. The tire will let you know. The car will let you know. So T to the Y said, it's not talking at them, it's talking to them. I say this all the time at work with my clients at workshops. Brother, listen, I don't know how many in-services I've held with parents, teachers, as well as students, especially in my mentor group. And I have to say, are you talking to that man? Or are you talking with him? Do you want to give him an opportunity to share with you? Because right now you're speaking at him. And Lord knows I used to have this conversation with my ex-wife. I used to say, you're talking at me. You're not trying to have a conversation with me. You just want to hear yourself talk. Now, my problem was that I didn't know how to respond to make it about us. So I gave back the negativity that I was given. Now, Tiff and I, we don't do that. We're able to have a conversation. I'll sit down next to her. I touch. That's another thing too. Physical contact is a way to instigate a conversation. Rub on the shoulder, rub on the back, or rub on the thigh. Hey, baby, you okay? Can we talk? You all right? Because showing concern, we really needed some counseling when we you really needed some counseling. So Queenie said we really needed some counseling when we bowled. Well, that's the funny thing is I'm glad you said that, Queen. I want to bring this up. I want to give y'all something because again, and like I said, I'm gonna go past 10 o'clock tonight. Queenie said we really needed some counseling when bowling. Now she's joking, but I'm gonna tell you something that's well, she might not be joking. Here's the thing: Tiff and I have been bowling together competitively since around the time since we started dating, and we really need. Okay, so had to be, let me see, 2002, I think, is when we started bowling competitively. I started bowling with her. I've been bowling competitively since 81. The hardest thing with bowling or competing in any type of competitive sport with your significant other is y'all really have to be comfortable with each other when it's over and while it's going on. I don't know how many relationships, that's why I said I'm glad Queenie said that. I don't know how many couples I've seen go at it on the lanes, and it's not just about bowling because they didn't check what was going on before they got to the bowling alley. And then when things started to go negative at the bowling alley or when they're competing, all of a sudden they blow up. And Queenie knows because she saw my wife about to get into it. She saw my wife about to put her foot in another young lady's behind. And it was funny because when I was sitting there, one of my teammates and Tiff and I have always been teammates. We don't bowl on separate teams. We always bowl together. So when my man said, yo, you was going to let your wife fight? I said, first of all, if you thought that other young lady was going to touch my wife, you crazy. So my wife can handle herself, but there was no way I was going to let the other young lady actually put her hands on her. But there was no reason for me to make a situation worse because where she was standing to get there to my wife, she had to get through like 4, 5, 6 people. I don't think she really wanted that to begin with. But when Tiff took off her earrings, I was like, "Oh, she's serious. Okay, yeah, Tiff, get him. No, secretly I did want Tiff to kind of rough her off. God forgive me. Yes, I'm a man of God, so I ain't supposed to be supporting violence. But a part of me was like, yo, get her, baby. Yeah. But honestly, I would have never allowed it to happen that way. And one of my teammates, who was Tiff and I teammates, had actually intervened. But it was because Tiff routinely put a foot in her behind while we were bowling, routinely beat her. And because of that, whatever problems that she was dealing with in her relationship, she brought to the bowling alley. Now, I'm not going to name any names. There's no reason to do that. But she has a negative disposition that is noticeable if you met her. Because it's almost like, that's a nice day out today. You can't say that. And all of that. And it's like, well, how do you come to a bowling alley already angry? Well, it's what Queenie was saying about needing counseling, is that some folks don't understand that when you're competing, whatever you have. And let me switch this and give you a different analogy as well. It's the same thing at work. I spent 20 years in New York City classroom as in the New York City school system as an educator and as a dean of students. And one of the things that I noticed is that I would see a lot of teachers who would melt down because they were bringing their personal business into the building with them and then not knowing how to deal with very difficult kids. So kids used to ask me all the time, Mr. B, why are you always so happy? Why are you always laughing and joking? Well, you don't need to know my problems, and I'm not going to give them to you because I got to focus on the job at hand. But many folks don't know how to do that. And let me ask you guys this. Put a one in the chat room if you got a person at work that seems to always bring some drama or like their own cloud, where it's like it's always raining on them. Please let me know if you've got seen that person at work. You might be working with that person right now. No names. Don't. We're not doing that. But put a one up in the chat room if you have that person that you've worked with or is currently working with. That it's like every time they come in, everything could be going great, and then it's wah wah wah. So and so. Oh, Natasha gave a big hand clap. Sister Smith gave a bunch of ones. See, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. Y'all, everybody chilling. They walk in. He's here. She's here. So imagine what their significant other is dealing with at home. A lot of times they're single. Yep. A lot of times. And they're single and always talking about, I got rid of that person. It wasn't me. Oh, okay, just check. Yeah, actually, don't. Hey, Tiff, you're giving away too much personal information. You're going to get in trouble. We don't do that here. That person left, not you got rid of them. Change that. I should delete that. Anyway, but yes, negative energy. And the funny thing is, negative energy can be felt. They just rain on the parade. Hey, Nick, what's going on? Nick popped up in the house. What's going on, Nick? Yes, they just rain on the parade. And let me tell you something what's funny, guys. That energy, and I always think like this. If they're bringing negative energy into work, into the bowling alley, that means they're walking around with that on a regular, because work is what we got to do to get paid, of course. Bowling is what we do for fun or compete. So if we're competing, like Queenie, like Nick, myself, Tiff, if we're competing, we know we got to focus to be able to get done what we got to do so we can make this money, because we bowl for money. Or you got to work and make your money. So if you're coming to something that requires you to be focused, to be able to excel, to be paid by that, and you're already coming in a negative disposition, my God, how are you waking up in the morning? And now if you're in a relationship, how are they waking up with you? If you're in that to begin with. Hopefully you're not doing the shacking up thing, but if you are, do your thing. But at the end of the day, people marry folks like that. I've seen people at their wedding and you're not even gonna smile at your wedding? Ooh. So you already know where that relationship is headed. 55 minutes, like Flex was talking about. So guys, let me go back over 9 through 12 tonight. And then what I'm going to do, since we got a bunch of people in, shout out to Natasha, shout out to Nick, shout out to Sister Smith, shout out to Flex, my lovely wife Tiffany, shout out to Tiffany A. Green, who's in the house, shout out to Queenie. I think C to the Y Jones is in the house, and Flex I think I got. Shout out to Kira, shout out to Keisha. I think I got, is that everybody? I think I got everybody. Okay, so let me go back over. So if you guys are just joining me, I am Keith K.L. Belvin. Every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday here on Unapologetically Keith, we deal with different things that deal with relationships. I normally go until 10 o'clock, but tonight I said I was going to stay on a little bit. Let me bring this back up. So let me give you this first. Now, real quick before I go back over all, let me just give you this right here. Now, we did all this talk in these different issues, different problems. Here's the thing. And this is what I want you to take down, write this down somewhere. If you need it, you reach out. But this is how you reach me, okay? Because what's very, very important is that we have to find a way to fix it. Because you always hear me say, thank you, my beautiful wife. Yes, my lovely, beautiful wife. Look at her. Ooh, she's sexy. Now, anyway. But yes, the thing is, to set up a free call with me, it's real simple, bit.ly/talkwithkl. The call is free. The first call is free. The reason why is because I don't know if I can work with you. I don't know if you can work with me. And we just need to discover where you at, what do you need, because it may not be the right time for counseling right now. You may not want to spend money right now on counseling right now, whatever. We can figure something out where we don't have to put anything in place right now, but let's talk. So maybe we can put things on hold. So you may say, Keith, I want to take a month or two, see what I can do, and then see if I can talk to my significant other and we can come back. Or you might need counseling. I do individual counseling as well because all of us need somebody to listen to. And so I want you to make sure you write that down and save that, give that to a friend or family member that needs it, because that's my direct schedule. When you go there and you put your time in, I'll get notification that you set up the time, and then I'll be there. I always show up. It's what I do. So I'll come back to that in a second, but let's go over what we're doing tonight. Okay, so I'm gonna go over all 12. Let's do that. All right. And I thank all of you for being on with me tonight. I really do appreciate you being in with me tonight. Okay. So the 12 communication issues which affect your relationship, we're going to finish up this week strong. And again, I want to say to everybody, thank you for the condolences on my mother. I appreciate you. I love you. And I know some people are bugging out like, why is he so calm? Well, actually, I'm going to talk about that Wednesday and Friday, but I'll put that up in a second. So the 12 communication issues which affect your relationship if you weren't with us last week. Number 1, yelling and screaming. Number 2, apology. Thank you for the compliments on my beautiful wife. Let's see. Natasha says, your beautiful wife, Tiffany. And Queenie says, hello, beautiful Tiffany Belvin. So Queenie said, Tiff, that's Queenie that said hello to you. So I'll put it up real quick. There we go. So number 1 on the list was yelling and screaming. Number 2, apologizing too much. And what I meant by apologizing too much is that they are constantly, I'm sorry that they did this. I'm sorry that I did that. I'm sorry that I said this. When if they're really learning, they should not have to keep saying, I'm sorry. So when you have a significant other who keeps, and this is what we're dealing with, we're talking about the 12 communication issues which affect your relationship. If your significant other keeps apologizing, keeps saying, I'm sorry, they're not getting it. Because you shouldn't have to apologize that much if you're learning. If I say don't do something, if a person says you're hurting me and that bothers me, but yet they keep doing it and they keep having to apologize, that is a form of abuse, guys, because they're not listening. They're tone deaf to your pain. After a while, thank you so much. Another compliment on my beautiful wife, Tiffany. See, everybody says I outkicked my coverage. I think she did pretty good myself. I think she outkicked her coverage with a handsome man like me, but that's just me. Anyway, number 3, the silent treatment. We talked about that last week, that quite a few of us use the silent treatment as a way to deal with our significant other. We'd be like, I'm just not going to say anything. That's not a good thing, because the longer that you do not speak, the problem it becomes. If they're truly sorry, they won't keep making the same mistake. Thank you, Tiff. I appreciate that. Tiffany Green said exactly. All right. Just had this convo. Thank you, Tiff. I appreciate that. That's true. The silent treatment, we all do that. But you know what? That's cute when you're a teenager, but when you're an adult, sitting around just being silent for no reason, that's not helping. And if you're married, it is dangerous and it affects the relationship. You need to have that conversation, even if it's a difficult one. All right. Number 4, speaking in absolutes. You are the worst. I've never seen a woman like you. You've never been good. You've never been a good cook. When they speak in absolutes, that is a problem. It's not a good thing to be silent. That's true. Natasha said, I'm guilty of both. Thank you for the transparency. I appreciate you. So speaking in absolutes, when you have a significant other that says you were never that good, you were never, or it's, and when they speak in those type of terms, it is detrimental because you're cutting somebody very deep. And that's the issue. Tiff said yes, and I shut all the way down. There you go. Very true. And I'm glad you guys are being transparent, because that's necessary in a relationship, is that when we're transparent with our pain, we can then fix it. Okay, number 5 was should and should nots. When somebody tells you what you should and should not do, you are a grown man or woman. So if you're with a partner who tells you what you should and should not do, or tells you what you can and cannot do, that is a problem, because you don't need anybody's permission. Even if you're married, yes, you depending on the roles that you play in a relationship, somebody might be the head and somebody may not. But to tell, hey, we've reached let me give you this. Congratulations, guys. How about this? We did it again. Congratulations. We've reached 100 messages. Shout out to all of you. It's not me, because I'm not typing in anything. That is all you. Thank you, guys. I appreciate you. Look at that work y'all putting in tonight. So number 5, the should and should nots. Number 6, make assumptions and This one I have to add. T to the Y added this one. Let me see what T to the Y said. Comparing associates with absolutes is the worst. Yes, 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 yes. This is why I like having T to the Y here. As the male, he holds it down in the chat room. He said, comparing associates with absolutes is the worst. Don't ever say you're nothing like my ex. Woo, Lord, don't do that. Do not compare your person that you're with now in any absolute way to your previous. It is detrimental to your relationship and it is beyond disrespectful. Because if they were all that, you should have stayed with your ex. You shouldn't have been with somebody new. Do not bring up the previous relationship and the current relationship and leave the absolutes alone. Also, with number 6, making assumptions. T to the Y offered this last week. Making assumptions and accusations, the double A's. I'm going to add that. I made sure I added it to my list for tonight. Is that when you have a significant other who is accusing you and making assumptions about who you are and what you do, that is a problem. Because if you have respect for each other, there's nothing that they should be accusing you of or assuming about you. You should be able to talk about the things that you're doing, where you're going, all the things like that. But at the end of the day, you are an adult. You are a grown person. And if somebody's going to treat you like a child, you don't need to be in that relationship. It does not work. And if you feel me, put a 1 in the chat room if you're feeling the list so far. Let's move on to number 7. Not asking for what you need. Another big one. Maybe death. That's true. Speak on it, Queenie. Maybe death. Assumptions and accusations can lead to death because it can create a big problem. And let me tell you something about assumptions. They're like rabbit holes. Once you start running down that rabbit hole, you don't know where it's going. And people will start to react in here on the assumption that they made. So they're actually reacting to their own assumption. That's a problem. That is a severe problem, and it does not help the relationship. It's like pumping poison steadily into the relationship, and the only thing that can happen is something negative. And shout out to Sister Smith, who said she lost her niece to domestic violence last month. My condolences on the loss of your niece, and thank you for being so transparent and sharing. And thank you for the ones, guys. I appreciate you so much. And Sister Smith, I'm so sorry to hear that, but domestic violence is something that I've dealt with too. And what I found, excuse me one second. What I found in a lot of domestic violence cases, and I've dealt with it a lot, is that there were signs that were there. Sister Natasha said she's sorry to hear about that, Sister Smith. And again, well, y'all can see it on Facebook, so y'all can see it. There were signs that were there ahead of time that might have been ignored or might not have gotten the calls for help that they needed. And if they're not dealt with in enough time, then, you know, what happens, happens. And I try to make sure that if I in any way believe that to be the case, I'll tell the male or the female, get out that relationship, because my goal is to make sure any person that I'm counseling is safe. And if I don't believe that you're safe, I'm going to let you know it, or I'll just take the initiative and go ahead and make the call myself, because I'd rather you be mad at me and be allowed to be mad at me than I staying quiet and something happened to you. Okay, number 7, not asking for what you need. Very big. If something's wrong, speak up. Or if you need something in your relationship, speak up. And this is connected to sex too. I noticed that a lot of people will not talk about wanting more sex. They'll just stay quiet and figure something must be wrong. Or if there's other things that you need, speak on it. Do not be in need in a relationship and stay quiet. A closed mouth does not get fed, as we talked about last week. You must open your mouth and say something. Thank you for the ones. And Bernice says sorry for the loss. Natasha says sorry for your loss, Sister Smith. Okay, number 8 was not bringing up issues before it becomes a bigger problem. Speak on it when it's an issue. Don't wait 2 months later and go, you know, 2 months ago you said to me, who the hell is going to remember what they said if it didn't hurt them? If you're hurt, take the time, but don't take too much time, but then talk about it. Say, hey, you know what? The other day, 2 days ago, 3 days ago, the other day you really did me dirty. What do you mean? Let's talk. I'd see Tiff. My wife just put her face up. Somebody does that, huh? Yes, my lovely wife will wait a month, 2 months, and be like, well, you know, 2 months ago, you didn't help me with the garden. What are you talking about? Because I'm not the one hurting. And please, guys, remember, if you're hurting, you need to speak up and say something, because your significant other needs to hold on to that. Because if they're not hurting, they're not putting that in the we need to deal with this right away file. They're putting it into the, all right, or they didn't know. And they always have an out. Thank you, Kira. Kira said communication is the key. That's why we're here. That's what we're talking about. Yes, on point. Because remember this, if it's not that important to them, they're not going to remember. So all of a sudden now, a month later, 2 months later, so Sister Sis said it's a good topic. It's really been blessed by, thank you. I appreciate that. Being blessed by my lives, I appreciate it. I'm trying to show up. I'm here. I'm dealing with it. Like I said, helping others is how I grieve. So I was happy to get back on tonight. So I was looking forward to it. But yeah, you got to open up your mouth, because, and the reason why is because your significant other has to know that it hurts you. You have to know that you need something, because now you got an argument. I told you Monday I needed this. And if they haven't acted on it, now you can say why. Now the communication can start going. Now you can say, well, why is it that you're ignoring me? Why is it that you see? And that's going to go to what we're talking about in the other one. We're talking about not listening. But here we go. So not bringing up an issue before it becomes a bigger problem. Okay. And as we go for tonight, showing disinterest in their ideas. Again, if they love you, they're going to support you. Even if it's not their thing, they're going to tell you, go, make it happen. That's not really me, but I want the best for you. Also, men and women. I was about to say guys, but I realized it can be either way. If your significant other wants you to come to something that's super corny, go for them. Don't go, I ain't going, go. I never want to go to pageants other than just to see my wife. I'm serious. I don't want to go to pageants. Who wants to be? What? I don't want to be at a pageant. I go because either my wife is competing or my wife says, I want you to be there. Okay. If my wife wants me to be there, then I'll be there. Now, if I can get out of it, I'm going to get out of it. But if she really wants me to be there, I'll be there. And honestly, to be around all that eye candy, it's not the worst thing. Now, yes, it's hard though, because I'm like, oh, and she half naked, and she half naked. Oh my gosh, I got to be very careful. Let me be perfectly transparent with you, right? My wife had a pageant. Oh my gosh, some years ago, one of her first, and I was selling books, because we had set it up that my wife was going to do the pageant and I was going to be one of the vendors. So I'm setting up the table. So you got to be there hours before. So all of these full-figured women are walking around half naked, because where they were setting up is where they were getting dressed, because the people weren't invited downstairs yet. And I'm thinking, do these women not know that I'm here? And I'm like, oh gosh, I'm trying real hard not to look. So Tiff came over and said, she said, just go ahead and look, baby. She said, because all of them forgot that you was here, and I know some of them is barely naked. Just get it all out now. And I was like, woo, that was before I had thicker glasses. Oh my gosh, it was Natasha Banks, I remember. Lord, let me tell you something. I literally had to go take a walk, because I was like, And then, of course, everything went off. But again, I was there not only because I was selling books. I was there because my wife wanted me to be involved. And if my wife wants me to be involved in things, and my wife does the same for me. When I was coaching basketball, middle school, she would come and be at the games, and she would be there. And when I'm bowling and she's bowling, when we bowl in tournaments, we're there to support each other. This is what we do. And this is what a good relationship should look like. So number 10, simply not listening, as we talked about earlier. Not listening to your significant other is disrespectful. It is a sign of disrespect when you do not listen or care to listen to what the person you say you care about is talking about. Number 11, bringing up issues at the wrong time, as we just mentioned before. There's a time for everything, and know when to do it, know when to say, because just because you want to get it out doesn't mean that it needs to come out right now. Your partner may not be ready for it, but depending on what the news is, some news you just got to say. Some news you just gotta get it out there, and that's it. Natasha says you'll love her. Appreciate that. And the last one is not respecting repair attempts, and that's where I come in. Is that if they don't want to get counseling, that's a problem, because if you're literally trying to help your significant other, if you're really trying to say to them, "Listen, I want to fix this because I want us to do well," that's big. And so, as you see here, this is how you reach me, guys. And I want to say before I get off tonight, and I'm happy to have been on. Let me see. Sister Smith says, "Wow, I regret never supporting my husband when he would coach. Instead, I blamed him for talking to the parents and the single moms. Well, it's a balance. Listen, I got in trouble. Listen, I'll be fully transparent. My wife is here inside the chat room. When I used to coach, all I coached was single moms, and I had a girls team, so it was always moms. And I wound up getting a little closer to one of the moms than I should have, who started sending me with the equivalent of a D pic. It was a JJ pic. And my stupid behind should have deleted it after I looked at it. No, I saved it onto my computer. And my wife is like, what? Who's the JJ is this? And when I told her who it was, my wife, who's gangster, she reached out to the chick and said, how about I tell the whole school that you sending coach the JJ pictures? I was like, oh, Lord. But that was my own fault, because I should have never let it get to that point. Or when I got the pictures, I should have deleted them instead of moving them to my computer. So again, you have to know the things that you're doing. You have to understand. And that's another thing too. Be honest, man. Be honest when you make mistakes. Be honest. And that was, what year was that, Tiff? That was 2009. Was that 11 years ago? That was 2009 or something like that. No, it was later than that. It was 2008, I think, right? I think we had just got married, Tiff, something like that. It was 07. I would have been gangster too. Thank you, Tiff. Tiff said, love the transparency. I think it was 08. Let's see. I left that school in 06. So yeah, it was like 06, 07. I think we had just got married, or we was about to get married. I don't think we were married. I don't know. Were we married, Tiff? I don't think we had gotten married yet, right? I think that was before I got married, or was it after we got married? Something like that. But yeah, she sent me 07. Yeah, so it was before we got married, right? Because we got married that summer, but that was the year before we left to go to Jamaica to get married. I mean, before we got married. So yeah, so 07, we weren't married yet, but yeah, and that was my own fault. You know why? Because I knew the parent was digging me, and I allowed it to get to that point, because you got to also, if you're flirtatious like I am, you got to know where that line is drawn. My wife sees me flirt sometimes, but she knows I'm not trying to do anything. But you got to be very careful. Also, if your significant other tells you I have a problem with something that you do, we were about to get married. That's what I thought, because that was the school year before we got married, and then we went away after we got married to Jamaica after summer school. If your significant other tells you I have a problem with someone or something, do not say, that's in your mind. Oh, that's not true. Oh, don't worry about it. No, stop. If your significant other says they have a problem, that's a conversation, because you need to address what their concern is. Why do you have a problem? What is it that you have a problem with? And if it makes sense, dead it. If your significant other, male or female, says, I have a problem with this man or this woman, and you go, why? And it makes sense, dead it. Because that is your partner. You need to go ahead and fix that. Now, if it's an off the wall thing where they're insecure with something with themselves, that's a conversation. Because you don't have to get rid of your friends because your significant other is insecure. But that's something you need to deal with, and don't let it just fester. And you got to have that conversation. And I made that mistake. The JJ pictures, I was like, and I saved them. I'm so stupid. I was very stupid. If you've never read From Gigolo to Jesus, read my book From Gigolo to Jesus, and you will understand I was horrible as a man. Horrible as a man. And there it is. Oh, it's over this shoulder right there. That's From Gigolo to Jesus right there. That's right there. Wish we all in the same state. No COVID. This would be a great couple out. Well, I am working. You know, it's funny, Sister Smith. That's confirmation, because that's something that my wife and I were considering before COVID hit. Because I am working on creating my counseling practice. I have to do 2 years in the current form of counseling that I'm doing to get my state license, because I have my teaching certification. But I couldn't get my state license because I didn't have the experience in New York. I was teaching in New York. So I have to do X amount of years to get my license for the state of Delaware, which would then be reciprocated around the country, because I could get licensed in every state. And so one of the things that we talked about in terms of creating my counseling practice is creating couples retreats, because the book that my wife and I, I'm working on, my wife, she just puts a name to it. She does all the other work behind the scenes. Is Making Marriage Cool Again, because that's actually our movement. Making Marriage Cool Again. 2010, we did a lot of traveling and a lot of speaking, and we should have did the book back then, but God has his way of slowing things down for a reason. But you will see later on this year, Making Marriage Cool Again is going to be a book and a course. And it was supposed to be part of what we were going to do as a retreat to give couples an opportunity to come have real life conversations. And my wife and I have toyed with restarting our radio show because we did a radio show, Reality and Relationships, for almost a year. I want to say, let's see, we started in February. KL was born in 14. So we started in February of 2013 and we were on until March of 2014. So we did a year-long show, radio show, weekly radio show every Thursday night. I think our old blog is still up. And if you ever want to listen to some of our old radio shows, just let me know. I'll send you a link to them. But yeah, Reality and Relationships every Thursday night from 7 to 10. And every Thursday night, we covered every aspect of relationships. And we've even toyed with the idea of coming back on live to do some things, to have conversations as we used to. But it was over a year, babe. It was February. We started near Valentine's Day of 2013, and we stopped in March of 2014 once KL was born, around April. So it was called Reality and Relationships, and we were on for like 3 hours. We did Reality and Relationships. The year before that, we had our own show, which was called Black Love Radio. And then the year before that, I was a host of, I was hosting a show with two other co-hosts. And that one was called Three Ingredients. What was that? I don't remember. What was the name of the show, Tiff? Three Ingredients? No, Three Ingredients, One Foundation, something like that, whatever it was. But we did for like 4 years in a row. We were doing online radio for a while. And it's something that we've talked about, something that we're thinking about revisiting, but we'll see. But right now, I'm the person doing this because as she's entertaining my lovely daughter while she's in the other room. What should our new show be called? Making Marriage Cool Again, but we'll see because that's what the book is going to be called. We'll see. We're going to figure it out. But Making Marriage Cool Again will be out later on this year, officially. And it's just a guide to show you some of the things that my wife and I have been able to put together over the 20 years that can help you keep your marriage fresh and cute and little things like that. So things that you hear me talk, 3 Ingredients, 1 Foundation, that's what it was. Thank you. And so we're going to just come up with ways to just show you little things that my wife and I do to keep our relationship fresh. We've been together 20 years. August 12th will make 13 years that we've been married, but we've been together 20 years. She's caught me cheating 3 times. That's 3 times that she caught me. I actually cheated a lot more than that in the first 5 years. And if you read From Gigolo to Jesus, you will see that she wrote the foreword. Oh, Latoya, oh yeah, oh, Latoya got here. Well, we still here for a little bit, Toya. Yeah, you got here late. You got to watch the rewind. Got you. Shout out to Toya, another fierce bowling competitor. But yeah, we've been together 20 years, married 13. First 4.5 years, I wasn't monogamous, and I talk about that whole situation. And actually, if you tune in tomorrow, I'm going to go back and discuss From Gigolo to Jesus and what I learned about what I learned from my book about how my life hurt people. So I will be discussing that tomorrow. So if you tune in tomorrow, Literary Conversation with KL, I am going to be discussing my book From Gigolo to Jesus, and I'm going to talk about what I learned about how I hurt people from, yes, you have it, Sister Smith. Make sure you take a picture with the book and send it to me, please. I love to know when people take pictures with the books. Also, go to my website, the guest book, when you finish reading and give me a little review. I'd love to know what you think when you finish reading. And that's another thing, guys. If anybody is interested in getting any of my books, bravenpublishing.com. That's where all my books are located. And right now, everything is there. And yes, Toya is a bowler. Yes. And Toya goes hard. Even at... No, Tiffany didn't write a book. Tiff, you were asked, did you write a book? Let me you know what? We're going to be on tonight. So I see I'm going to be on for a little while tonight. I had a feeling we might be. Let me tell you something. My wife has a book. It's called Stop Doggy Posing. What is it? Stop Doggy Posing, A Woman's Guide to Restoring Her Dignity, where she actually talks about how women are playing themselves with certain men and how women are giving away their dignity. And how she was able to hold hers through all the cheating and everything else. And it was bad. And we talk about it. We can joke and laugh about it now because we were able to put it behind us. No, no, I'm not accepting any new authors. Actually, what I do, Sister Smith, is we provide the services that authors need to publish their work themselves. So if you write your book with my company, um, we can help you to publish your book. I'm not accepting new authors. I used to years ago when I first started Braven Publishing. I don't do it anymore because it was not worth the headache. But what we do now is we make sure that we give authors the opportunity to have all the services that they need to publish their book. We set them up, or we do the consultations that you need. So I can actually be your consultant where we can actually show you what's going on. And Sister Smith said, Tiffany, you should write your book, which I've been telling her. Let me tell you something. My wife is a fantastic writer. She actually has another book that she was working on, Can't Love Like That. And she gave a snippet out a couple years ago, and it was banging. But I keep telling her that she needs to go ahead and write Can't Love Like That and stop doggy posing. Now, well, we can't talk about the cover design because the cover design is fierce that she came up with, that we came up with. And I'll give you an example. Hold on a second. All right, I'll be on for a little bit. And again, thank you guys. If anybody has to go, I know I'm just rattling on right now, but I needed to be on. This is how I'm grieving after the loss of my mom. So I'm hanging out tonight. All right, let me give y'all something since I got you on. Should have got off a long time ago, but looks okay. This is from Gigolo to Jesus, guys. All right. As you see, me and my lovely wife on the back cover. This is from Gigolo to Jesus, right? And the reason why I use this book when I'm counseling is because I want to be able to let folks understand what my trash was and everything like that. But okay, here's what's very important. This is the forward that I'm about to read in the book right here. All right, so I'm going to read this to you real quick. Hang out with me. And again, make sure that you like and share this, and make sure when you share it, you tell folks why you shared it so they can check me out. Okay, my wife wrote the forward. Okay, and this is a book that explains. Thank you, I got you. Appreciate that, Sister Smith, that y'all hanging out with me. Now, my book talks about the abortions that I was a part of, the over 300 something women that I was with, all of my children, all of the nastiness, all of the things that I did that was just, it's my life. It's what it was. So a lot of people will say, and your wife knew about all of that? And your wife understood all that? And I go, yeah. So let me give you something that my wife wrote. I can recall KL, a big dog, as I affectionately call him, coming home and telling me that one of his friends was not happy with the new KL. The friend reminisced about all the fun they had and how much time they spent running amok. He told him that he wished he had the old KL back. I listened to Big Dog's saddened tone as he spoke about his friend of many years, and when he was finished, I asked him how he felt about the new KL. He responded, I'm happy, and unfortunately, he just doesn't get it. That evening when I went to bed, I prayed for my husband, as I do every night. However, I cried as I prayed. I cried because I knew that Big Dog's friend meant well, but he couldn't fathom what he was asking for. For 5 years, I had a front row seat to the self-destructive path that Big Dog called his life. In the public eye, he was the big man on campus, the life of the party, the one everybody thought had it all together. But in private, he was falling apart. I am in constant gratitude to our Holy Father that he has delivered Big Dog from that place. Every day added to his transition is like a day of sobriety that we celebrate together. Tiffany Braxton Belvin, wife of a former gigolo. That's my wife. My wife wrote that. So, and you guys that have not read From Gigolo to Jesus, there's a reason why she's on the cover. And there's a reason why you see behind me, I add my wife to everything that I do, because neither of those master's degrees, oh, that way right there. Nope, this way. Neither of those 2 master's degrees that you see on that wall back there, I would have gotten without my lovely wife. So what we have. If you look up this shoulder too, if you look back up there, that's Ebony Magazine that we were in together. She wrote that article that got us into Ebony Magazine. I got us the opportunity to be in Ebony, but Tiff is the one that wrote the article about us. And actually that's in the Black Tales issue from 2012. And Tiff wrote the article for that talked about how we overcame the baby mama drama. And we did. And how I have 7 children, 6 different women. So you may go, what? You was nasty. I was. But here's the thing. The last 20 years, I've been with one woman, had one child. The first 32, I was filthy. That's the reason why I wrote the book. And so I don't ever want to hear people say people don't change. They do, but it requires a lot. So when I bring these lists and I bring this stuff to the table, it is because I am a living example of what God can do. Now, whether you believe that or not, doesn't make me any difference. You know why? This young lady right here does. And as long as she does, I'm good. And this business and those books that you see back on that back wall, that book under the ebony thing, and that right there behind me is all because we were able to put this together by getting past the trash that was our life then to be able to embrace the life that we have now. And we're shooting for Queenie goals of 55 years. God is good. He gave you a great, thank you, Queenie. I appreciate that. But yes, and we don't hesitate to share. We don't hesitate to share that testimony because that's actually what got me into counseling. It is my wife and the fact that I tell folks on a regular, it was the Lord and my wife that allowed me to transition. And we talked about that, and I'll talk about it some more tomorrow. And you got to understand is that we've been at this for a while. And a lot of times when we go out to speak, I'll ask folks, have you ever been cheated on? Every hand will go up. Every woman's hand will go up. Have you ever been cheated on twice? Half the hands will go down. And I say, did you ever get cheated on the second time and did you take them back? Half the hands will go down. So then I say, have you ever been cheated on a third time and took them back? And there'll be like a quarter of the hands still up. And I go, so what would you say to a woman that did that? And they go, BITCH is stupid, da da da. And I turn around and go, wow, baby, they really getting at you. And then they go, whew. And I go, yes, that was my wife. And I'm that man. So yes, you just said she's a stupid BITCH, but it's okay. We expect that. But the reason why we have that conversation is because you can't say God is all powerful and not think that you can get over that. But, and I'm going to have this conversation at another time, you may not be built to get over that hump. This may not be for you. My wife was built for that. My wife was built for me, and I was built for my wife. That don't mean that you are us and that you may overcome what we overcome. We're just an example that it can happen. That don't mean it's going to happen for you. I don't make any guarantees. I just show you what I know. This is the whole reason why I'm on tonight. And this is why I do what I do, is because I can show you that it's possible. I can't guarantee you that it is, because only the Lord knows how he built you. And if he didn't build you, thank you so much for the compliment, Sister Smith. We try to make this union work, because that's the biggest thing now, is to not just be a public success, is to be a private one. That's why I counsel. That's why I tell people, reach out to me if you need to talk. That's why it's on the screen right now. Because in private, there's a whole lot of things that we can talk about that I know you can't talk about in public. It is also why I am demanding that the church have mental health ministries. It is why I am a minister. It is why I went to school at Liberty University and have a degree in human service counseling, specializing in Christian ministry. Because I believe every church should have a mental health ministry, and that's what I'm trying to do. But I've actually had doors slammed in my face by pastors who like, okay, so I became a pastor, and I do it myself. So I don't need anybody's church to do anything for me other than to work with me if you choose to. But if you don't, I'll do it myself. I don't have to worry what folks don't understand. I just simply have to be out here and do what God commands me to do. Now, we're going to go to church now for y'all got me up now. And this is what it is. So what I found is, instead of asking the church to create mental health ministries, I created my own. And this is what I do. And those degrees, oh, that side, I keep forgetting which side. Those degrees back on the wall, there's actually 4 back there. Is because I put the time in to learn how to do it. The reason why I counsel now is because families need my help. And right now we got a lot of relationships that need help. This is what I do. And Tiff can tell you, she's here. The families, she just had a woman just reach out to her when we had to go get blood work, and we had been putting it off because of COVID. And so when we went in, one of the parents whose son I worked with was there. Tiff went in first, and then she said, well, she just come in. So I went in, and her were talking, and she said, oh, Mr. Keefe, I miss you. And I'm so happy with the work you did with my son. And I said, no problem. And she's like, but I definitely want to set up counseling for myself, because I miss all your advice, because I no longer work with them. I had to discharge her. Well, when I got back to the car, Tiff said, oh, my God, you should have heard the things she was saying. She loved you. And she was just saying how, and I love the compliments. And I can honestly say, and I'm not bragging, the families that I've worked with so far since I started working for myself, I haven't had any complaints other than one family I had to say, I can't help you because they didn't want help. We needed counseling so much. I heard the church say that they was trying to talking to us. See, that's the thing, is that if it's being done right, you don't have to keep talking forever, because the blueprint is to give you a way to work on it yourself. But first we have to analyze what the problem is. The first thing we need to do is figure out what is it that you guys need, figure out a plan to do it, and then shove you into the boat and out into the water you go. Because it's not maintenance. The maintenance is done by the two of you. My job is to point out what you need to do to be able to do the maintenance, and then you guys have to fix it. That's why you hear me. That's why you see me put up my hashtag all the time. We can fix this. I'll put it up for you right now. When I put it up and I say we can fix this, it is because I honestly believe that. I believe that we can fix it. I believe that God has given us everything that we need to fix what's wrong if we acknowledge it. But go to those that have the experience to do it. That's why you see one of the things on the list is they don't accept the repairs attempts. How can you fix it? If they're not going to listen to you, how can you fix it? How can I fix it if they don't listen, or if guys don't listen? I went to school. I left a career of teaching after 20 years, $94,000 I left on the table to move my daughter out of New York. And I went back to school for a second master's degree because I knew I was moving in a different direction than where God had taken me from the first time. And I said, okay, it's time now. And I knew that I was going to give up a whole lot, but I said, Lord, you haven't let me down now. I'm going to follow you and do what you got to do. September 17th was the last time I worked for anybody else than myself. Now, how did the Lord know? He knew, because when COVID hit, I've been working ever since, right here from my house while watching my daughter every day. I haven't missed any checks. Do I make as much money as I did before? No, I do not. Even with COVID, I don't make as much money because my program that I put at the prison, I couldn't do. But then even they reached out and said, would you be willing to do it online? Yes, I would. So July 9th, I start my program that I created at the detention center right here on Zoom. So I get back the money that I lost from home because I trusted the Lord and walked away from work and said, no, I'm not working for somebody else. But I had to put the work in first, and I'm still putting in the work. This is why I'm here every day. I'm showing up every day. I'm online every day. But I'm online the times that I say. Now, it's the longest I've been on, and it's because of you guys that I'm even staying on. And it's a way for me to deal with the loss of my mom, too. You know, what else am I going to do? I finished my progress notes for the day, so. And funeral arrangements are never cool. But this is what it is, guys. And anybody who knows me knows it. And like anything else, it takes time, but y'all are part of my tribe. And I appreciate you for coming and showing up with me. I hope I see you tomorrow night. I hope I'm here. Now, Wednesday and Thursday, we're going to talk about how to repair relationships with your children. I just got a call from my daughter after not having an honest conversation with her in 10 years. And we hadn't talked in the last 5. And I'm going to walk you all through what that was like. Because again, leaving the door open when you're a father that has multiple children, or you're a mother of a child whose the father has multiple kids. We're going to talk about that the next couple of days. I deal with the issues that some people are scared to talk about by expressing them in my own life. I wasn't always a good man. I'd like to think I am now. And God says, go out here and keep your mouth open. So I'm going to keep my mouth open. And if it turns into business, turns into business. But if I can help you first, that's the first thing. I'm not worried about it. Business takes care of itself. So this is what it is. So thank you so much, because I'll mess around and be here all night. So we're going to finish. We're going to talk some more on Wednesday and Thursday. Like I said, we're going to be dealing with how to deal with your children when you have multiple children, how to keep that door open, and how to repair some of the damage when you have multiple children, and how to deal with that. Tomorrow, don't miss tomorrow. We're going to deal with From Gigolo to Jesus. And tomorrow is really discussing what I've learned from writing my book, and what I learned about how other people were hurt. We're going to talk about that tomorrow. And so, again, I appreciate you. I appreciate you taking the time. Everyone, thank you so much. We got 100 messages in again, actually over that. And I just want to say thank you. I'll keep showing up. So when you share it, tell people why you're sharing it with them. Kira, thank you so much. So I want to go back through the list and just shout out everybody because guys, there's no it's all about you guys, and I appreciate you taking the time. So let me give a shout out to Kira, who comes through. Toya, who got here a little late, but we hung out for you, Toya. Shout out to Tiffany A. Green, who's working extremely hard. And you guys, listen, I may not take on clients anymore publishing, but Tiffany does. So if you want somebody to help you with your book that's going to work with you directly, check out Tiffany A. Green. She puts in the work. I just provide the services and I provide counseling. Actually, more counseling now than anything else when it comes to the literary parts. But we got some folks here. Tell me what you need. I'll know who to refer you to. So shout out to Queenie. She says, I thank God for you and you are truly a blessing. Thank you so much, Queenie. I appreciate that. Sister Smith said, enjoy everyone. Thank you, Keith, and your beautiful wife. Thank you so much. So shout out to Sister Smith. Shout out to Queenie. Shout out to Toya. Shout out to Tiffany Green. Shout out to T to the Y Jones. Shout out to Flex. Shout out to my lovely wife. Shout out to Natasha Mack, who hung out with us tonight. Shout out to, who else am I missing here? I know I'm missing somebody else. Who else am I missing? I got Natasha, I got Tiffany, I got Kira, I got Flex. Shout out to Flex. And those are the two guys. Shout out to Ty. Ty and Flex bring from the male's perspective on a regular. I like the fact that they show up on a regular. Let me see, is there anybody else that I missed? Because I hate when I don't get to. Oh, Nick. Shout out to Nick. Nick showed up tonight. Shout out to Nick, another bowling phenom. Appreciate you, Nick, for coming through. I think tonight was the first time I seen Nick pop in, but I appreciate you. Nick popped in tonight. Let me see if there's anybody else. So I think I got everybody. Kira, let's see. Oh, shout out to Lakeisha Green. Shout out to Keisha, who was on, and her wonderful son and my daughter have a ball when they're talking virtually. Appreciate you. And he's going to be a hell of a bowler as he gets older. So shout out to Keisha for coming through. I shouted out Flex. Let me see. I just want to make sure I got everybody. A lot of comments here. I want to make sure I got everybody. I think that is everyone. Let me make sure. Yeah, I think that is everybody. Okay. Guys, listen, again, if you need to reach me, I appreciate it. Oh, it's been a true blessing. Thank you, Tiff. I appreciate that. I appreciate you guys. So remember, please share this. Please share this and make sure you put this information down right here. That is the way to contact me. The first call is free. And then from there, we'll set up something. I try to make it affordable for what I do. The first call is free, normally about a half an hour. But if we go a little bit longer, we're trying to figure it out. My books are on my website, bravenpublishing.com. And again, remember, guys, as you hear me say all the time, remember, we can fix this. And I honestly believe that. I live that. And I just thank you. And I'll see you tomorrow night, 10 o'clock, not 9:30. Remember, Tuesdays and Thursdays is 10 o'clock. That's a literary conversation with KL. Tuesday and Thursday, 10 to 10:30. Monday, Wednesday, Friday is apologetically Keith. Unapologetically Keith. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9:30 to 10 o'clock. It has been a blessing. Thank you so much. This has actually been cathartic for me. It has actually helped me tonight. As you know, I lost my mom, but I thank you for allowing me to get on and rattle on. And if I gave you some enjoyment, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful night, guys. God bless.